Whoop, there's one. Whoa, whoa, whoa. These guys are just super juiced. I mean,
It was right under it.
he's still on it. Oh, you got him. There you go.
He just nipped it.
That's a big one.
He just...
Smallmouth bass are said to be pound for pound one of the toughest freshwater fish. All the angling edge staff would certainly agree they're one of the funnest game species to catch.
Fun day exploring some new water and catching our absolute favorite fish.
There we go.
Ooh.
Interestingly, smallmouth bass can display a wide range of moods throughout the season. At times, microscopic hair jigs are unquestionably one of the best ways to catch them. And at other times, topwater could be king.
Oop, look at that, look at that. Oh.
Spinnerbaits and crankbaits surely have their time seasonally. Finesse swimbaits are another good option just about anywhere brown bass swim in North America. But if you were to ask many professional bass anglers, what's your favorite smallie bait? Many would probably say there's something magical about jerkbaits. That erratic behavior can drive smallmouths crazy. Let's join Jeremy Smith and Jake Wallace exploring jerkbait strategies for smallmouth bass.
What I like about that one is he hit the front hook, huh?
Closed captioning is provided by Smooth Moves, adjustable boat seat suspensions for a smoother ride.
Got him. There we go. That's a nice one. That is a nice one. One of those days where it's trolling and then it's casting and just right on that edge of the fish being absolutely crazy and then being finicky. And one of the things with smallmouth bass I've learned over the years, especially with the jerkbait, in particular the X-Rap, is that it's not a one size fits all, that you can just go grab the standard size X-Rap 10 and just go catch smallmouth bass one after the other all the time. I use just about every size for smallmouth. This one happened to come on the 6, the size 6, the size 8, and then of course you've got the deep models. They can all come into their own this time of year, and when smallmouth are being tough, you can feel them pushing, they're not biting. Definitely downsize in the spring, it makes a big difference. I'm gonna get this guy back. All right, see, dude?
Feels like a decent one. Oh yeah,
Oh,
nice
yeah.
fish.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Brown Bass.
God, you gotta love this, doing this in the spring. It's just so much fun targeting these smallies. Oh yeah, nice fish. Because you can find them, they're pretty, once you find them, they can be pretty grouped up. You can really get on some awesome bites. Oh, look at that, got that hothead X-Rap, T-boned. Oh, little football.
Oh yeah, they're chunky. They're not long, but they're fat.
On the X-Rap. So we'll get them unhooked and fire them back. Button there. There he goes. There he is, got him.
Sweet, Jake.
There we go.
Big boulder. There's a customer there. Ooh,
Yes,
there
sir.
you go. Sweet.
That's the thing with these X-Raps. It's nice. I got hit twice before this, so I was just popping it. I gave it a little jerk and he came back, and this time I got him. Oh yeah, nice fish. They really like this hothead too. They like bright colors for whatever reason. And oh, nice big smallie. See if we can't get him here. Just got that last feathered treble right in his mouth. Oh, easy, buddy. There we go.
Oh, it's a beautiful fish, Jake.
Real nice fish. And yeah, you could feel him. He bumped it forward. And I just jerked it and then just let it sit there and pause, and he came and ended up taking her. Man, they're super healthy.
They are.
This segment is brought to you by Sunset Country, Ontario, Canada. You gotta come visit.
And again, it's like, man, oh man, if you've watched our show before, you've probably seen a show or two in the spring with Al or somebody from the crew out throwing X-Raps for smallmouth bass. And there's a reason that we end up doing it every single year, and it's that it really is the most productive tool that I know for catching these things. It is absolutely magical, and it's not just a casting bait. When we started out today, we were trolling the bait. The bait can be fish deep, but I'm going to lay out a few of the X-Raps that I carry on the boat to share with you why I have these, a good selection for anybody who likes fishing for smallmouth in the spring, and really all around for that matter. Let's get this one back. For me, the go-to size X-Rap in the spring is the size 10, and really the size 10 all around for most smallmouth fishing throughout the year. It's a great size. It gets down in that, say, 3 to 5 foot depth range on a cast, and the key to an X-Rap is that it suspends. It sits perfectly still in the water. You can snap the rod, throw slack back to the bait, and it jumps, boom, 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 and it sits there, just sits perfectly still, and that is really the magic to this bait. Now, if you run into a situation, which happens all the time in the spring, where you're feeling fish push the bait, or you've cast at a spot where you're like, man, I know there is a pile of fish there and they're not responding to it, smallmouth are absolutely suckers for downsizing baits. I'm telling you what, you take a size 10, throw it through there, get nothing, come back with a size 8 or a size 6 even, and you just make it a little bit smaller, it can absolutely turn things around instantly. I can't tell you how many bites that I've been on when I've been fishing good spots, I'm throwing a 10 through there, I get absolutely nothing, come back and just a slight downsize. So I make sure to have the size 6, the size 8, and the size 10 on board. And then lastly, a bait that's overlooked, I don't see a lot of guys use, and this is a really, really critical tool to have in the boat in cold water, when the water's in the 40s and just kind of breaking into that 50-degree range, is the X-Rap Deep. I carry both the 10 and the 8, that meaning that the 10 is the size of the body, and then the 8, of course, is just slightly smaller. And you see both of these have a larger bill than the original X-Rap. And if I'm trolling these, we can get these things down, in that 8, 9 foot range. So fishing over 12 foot, 14 foot rocks is a great deal. It's hard to get it that deep on the cast, but jerk trolling is an absolutely dynamite method. And if we're fishing this 6, 8 foot roll and we still can't get the fish to come up, even on the smaller baits, try using the deep version. You can still get it to dance, get it to hunt, get it to sit in place, but you'll end up catching a lot of fish in the cold water on the deep model as well. So make sure you've got all of those on board. And I'm telling you what, it might seem like, oh yeah, buy all these lures because you should have everything, but the X-Rap is hands down my favorite fishing lure that I've ever used. It catches so many smallmouth bass and multi-species as well, and I just saw Jake in the back of the boat missed one on the X-Rap. Got him. There we go. Ooh, that feels like a nice one. Look at that. Boom, that's just the funnest bite ever. Jerk, 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 boom. That was pretty cool. I'm using a whole suite of technologies.
They like to eat when you're throwing the right thing.
You don't have all bluebird flat calm days.
Just a perfect eating size fish. See, that's what I'm talking about, these Daiwa drag.
We got walleye stuff, we got crappie stuff, we got pike stuff.
This boat is rigged up about as nice,
Easy to use, and it flat out works.
It's a must-have when you're talking about big waves. Well, these trout are so darn tough.
This bait is legendary.
If you do have some technology in the boat, one of the most important pieces of it is definitely side imaging. I just love this technology for showing you where different transition lines are, where the rocks are. It is really a helpful tool. Now, I've fished this area all my life, and it wasn't until a couple years ago I came through this zone and found this little spot, and boom, it paid off. All right, let me get this guy back. See you, sweetie. Beautiful, beautiful brownie. Okay, so we were talking about technology, and we are fortunate enough to have all of the sonar technology available in this boat, but one of the most important tools that I've found for fishing smallmouth bass in the spring is side imaging. It's an amazing tool to see how a lot of these flats are laid out, and that's where you find smallmouth in the spring, is primarily on flats, and they're near some of the best rock or bigger sized boulders that you can find on those flats. If you're driving around with 2D sonar, a lot of times your cone may miss where the biggest boulders are. They might not show up that great on your 2D, but in side imaging, it just paints a beautiful picture of how that habitat is laid out. And if you've got that, you can narrow down the spots that are holding smallmouth much, much more quickly. Oh, got him. Yes. Keep looking at that stuff going, it's gotta be good, it's gotta be good. Oh, he's a leaper! Right on the bubble of things beginning to happen here in the spring in the North Country. Look at how fat they are. I can see why people say toad. Look at his belly. I mean, look at that thing. It does look like one of those toads that's out in your yard. It's a fat tank. What I like about that one is he hit the front hook, huh? That's a good sign. I'm gonna show you the rod and reel that I'm using to catch these guys. Let me get this guy back. Woo. Now for throwing these X-Raps, we're primarily using spinning equipment. For jerkbait fishing, for most bass guys, they think, man, that's crazy to be using spinning gear. The reason I like using it with these X-Raps, especially for smallmouth, this is smallmouth specific, is with this rod, reel, line combo that I've got, can make the X-Rap really dance and dart. And the more erratic the bait is, and the more curious the smallmouth are, it seems like the more likely they are to bite. Sometimes fishing fluorocarbon on a bait caster where the bait's a little more dampened can be the ticket, but day in, day out, braided line makes the X-Rap jump way more erratic, seems to put more smallmouth bass in the boat. So what I'm using is St. Croix's new, they've redesigned the Legend tournament. It's absolutely amazing. If you fished any of St. Croix's stuff in the Legend family, you know that it's absolutely marvelous. And my favorite series forever had been the Legend Elite series. It's of course one of their top end rods, but this Legend tournament now, to me, the material they've made it out of feels exactly like you're fishing with the Legend Elite, and of course for a lot less price. Now this is the 6 foot, 8 inch medium power, extra fast action. I like that 6.8 because I've got my rod low to the water most of the time, jerking, snapping and parting that action, and then the extra fast, meaning where this rod is bending on the blank, see how close that is to the tip, the flex right at the tip, that's what's making the bait jump. So the rod is huge for making this system work. The reel I've got on here is a really sweet setup from Daiwa. It's their Ballistic MQ. Last year they introduced their Kage reel with the MQ frame, and now it's down into Ballistic. And what it is, the frame is a single piece. It's a Zion B material, so it's a super rigid carbon material that's light. But see this big circle here? That's where they can fit the drive gear into the frame without having to screw it in. So it gives you a bigger drive gear, and the way they cut that, the gears are in contact more so than just with a circle gear where there's one point of contact. There's multiple points of contact inside that reel. So this is absolutely the smoothest. I mean, it's an amazing reel, and I'm fishing it on a 3,000 size, and I like that 3,000 because you can pick up line really quickly with this jerkbait fishing, and that's a big deal.
So that was on a number 8 Shad Rap.
Your style of boat control is really key.
One that was there from the very beginning.
You want to be able to see in the water. The adventure begins.
We are loaded for bear. We got
There's
bites.
so many different ways to fish for walleye. Dependability and efficiency.
Simple, fast, and easy.
The best rods on the planet.
There we go. Nice. Oh, that feels good. Oh, that feels good. It feels good. And it's a leaper. It's a little guy. It's a leaper. It's just such an effective tool, this jerkbait is, for finding where bass are. And one thing I'll just say quickly about fishing a jerkbait, I really prefer fishing with a little bit heavier leader than you might think. I'm actually fishing with 12 or 14 pound little guy leader most of the time for my jerkbaits. And the reason I like that is that it tends not to foul the bait as much. The stiffness of that keeps everything in line, so I'm not getting the line in the split rings. It's just a really great way to do it. And then I attach it with a little knot here. This is called an Albright knot. It's a modified Albright knot, but just a great thing that goes through the guides. And a little stiffer lead like that makes the bait dance well, and it doesn't foul as much. Got one, Jake. I think it's a munchkin, but it's really fun. It's really cool. Oh, he popped off, quite enjoyable. He wasn't very big, but a little action. Just really can test your patience at times with this cold water stuff. You can fish a lot of spots, cold water, spring and fall. A lot of times fish are just concentrated. They're small areas that have a lot of fish. So you can get down, all of a sudden you fish 2-3 spots, you don't have a bite. You start thinking, is it my presentation? Is it this and that? Well, if you're fishing smallmouth, you can kind of rule presentation out when the water's cold. I mean, they love a suspending jerkbait. If they're around, they're curious by nature, they bite that thing, they follow it. You can see them. So you just got to keep your confidence high and keep fishing different areas, different depths, different parts of the lake. Watch the water temperature, and eventually you'll land on fish and can start putting some numbers and size in the boat. Sweet, Jake.
There we go.
On, baby. Oh, it's a nice big one too.
Nice one. It's got some fight. Water's warmed up a bit, and boy, it just came up and smoked it.
It did, huh?
Yeah, it was cool. I actually saw my line jump there. That's one thing that's really key to this whole setup is this high vis line. We're using Suffix 10-pound, and I was able to see that thing strike, and boy, she's feisty.
Just that one ate.
Yep, no question. Let's get her in.
Head first. Hello.
Oh, there we go. It's a football right there.
Oh, and it's I lost mine. It was almost a double.
Let me get her unhooked here. You think they like the X-Rap? Gonna need the Bubba pliers for this one, Jer. Let me tell ya. Springtime is a great time to be targeting smallies. Get yourself a couple of these, a couple X-Raps, different sizes, and you'll have a blast. Look at that fish. It's been a great day here on the water. We'll fire back and just can't beat it.
You know, every year I accumulate some emails that I keep on file that I think would be really, really good to do a close like this on. Well, I'm going to read you one that I just got a few days ago, actually, not that many days ago. And I tried to reach back to the gentleman 4 different times. And you'll know why he didn't respond immediately. Ironically, he sent me an email back this morning, and I couldn't believe it when I seen it. I'm going to converse with him. We're going to have a phone conversation here next couple of days after 4 o'clock. You'll know more after I read this to you. I've watched your show since I was a kid. Having grown up with a religious faith shoved down my throat, I became agnostic. But I always listen to the prayer and your thoughts at the end of the show. I've heard your testimony about your wife's health issues and how God in prayer got you through. My wife, only 46 years old, is suffering from liver and kidney failure. She's very sick and on dialysis. She's been in the hospital for 2 months now. I also have 3 children at home, and we are all taking this very hard. I began to pray. I haven't done that since high school. I'm a realist. My wife may never come home. At the same time, I feel she needs more than doctors and hospitals. My question is, how is your faith so strong? I'm falling apart, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. I guess I'm looking for answers, and I'm very afraid. I feel I need to get close to God, but I also have anger towards everyone. I'm on the fence. I want to believe a miracle will happen, but I'm so negative about her condition. So I'm crying out to you This, as a man of deep conviction, this is why I'm reaching out. I don't trust those preachers or priests. I'm asking for some advice and prayers. Am I praying right? Is God real? Does he hear me? I'm so depressed and my head is spinning. I'm a hypocrite for turning to God when things are bad, turning my back on him when things are good. If this message gets to you, please pray for us. I know you can relate. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. Anything will help. Tight lines. Think you had a tough week? How about a tough couple weeks? Those are kind of stories that really touch your heart, but they're happening to people all over the world on a daily basis. I haven't had an opportunity to talk with him yet. We've just touched base finally this morning before I'm doing this close. And I'm thinking, what can I share with him? All I can do is share from my heart, and we have a lot in common in what he has here. What he said here, I got a lot in common with the whole thing. I can share with him from my personal experience with my wife, business, life in general, you know, the ups and downs, the challenges that we all face. Encourage him, don't run from God, run to God. Come to him. And I could see the way he's searching right now. The Spirit of God is talking to him. He's looking, am I praying right? I want to know. Please tell me something. God's going to answer that cry out. He's going to answer that. I don't know what part I'm going to play in this, but I'm going to know, I know for sure that I'm going to be a nucleus of making this happen. I can't wait to talk to him. This might be an ongoing conversation for months ahead to help walk him through this. But I know that the Spirit of God is knocking on his door right now because he does love him, he does care about him, and his entire family. Tough days. You think you had a tough week, like I said? There's people that are dealing with stuff that you can't even imagine, and this is a pretty good example of it. Hey, pray for me. Say a prayer for me that I help this guy through this. Hey, from all of us here at The Edge, you have a good, safe fishing season. We'll see you on the water.